And good afternoon. You're listening to Ken Hudnall. This is the Ken Hudnall Show. Coming to you from our studios right here in exciting El Paso, Texas. Gateway to the Old West and the most haunted city in the country. Well, today's February the 6th. It is the 37th day of this new year. 328 days remain till the year is over with. It's Pay a Compliment Day, National Frozen Yogurt Day, World Muay Thai Day, National Chopstick Day. It's Optimist Day. Look at the bright side. Time to Talk Day, Sami National Day. It's a celebration of Sami culture and identity. The Sami people, that's S-A-M-I, live across parts of Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Russia. And this is their day to express pride in their unique heritage. Ronald Reagan Day, National Valentine's Shopping Reminder Day. Valentine's on the 14th, folks. National Lame Duck Day. Waitangi Day. Women's Heart Week. Children's Mental Health Week. World Interfaith Harmony Week. Publicity for Profit Week. Tinnitus Awareness Week. National Storytelling Week. La Poutine Week. National Grain Week. Tapati Rapa Nui Festival. That's from Easter Island, don't you know? Pay Your Bills Week. International Networking Week. Feeding Tube Awareness Week. National School Counseling Week. Boy Scouts Anniversary Week. Burn Awareness Week. Solo Diners Eat Out Week. Go to a restaurant alone. It's a chance to indulge in your favorite cuisine and avoid sharing your food with somebody. National Patient Recognition Week. African Heritage and Health Week. Pride in Food Service Week. Famous people born on this date. Ronald Reagan, the man. Axl Rose, Babe Ruth, and Aaron Burr. February 6th is part of International Vegan Cuisine Month. American Heart Month. National Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. National Snack Food Month. National African American Read-In. Spay and Neuter Awareness Month. National Children's Dental Health Month. Human Relations Month. National Macadamia Nut Month. Feline Fixed by 5 Month. I was asked by a listener what that means. It's a key event in the cat care calendar. It's celebrated annually. It spreads awareness about the importance of spaying and neutering cats before they reach 5 months of age. It helps control the pet population, prevents many common health issues. This month-long focus ensures that cat owners and veterinarians alike understand the benefits of early spaying and neutering, leading to healthier and happier cats. Of course, no one is asked a cat. But then again, Exotic Vegetables and Star Fruit Month, Berry Fresh Month, National Therapeutic Recreation Month, Marijuana Awareness Month, National Goat Yoga Month, Financial Aid Awareness Month, National Mend a Broken Heart Month, Duct Tape Doesn't Always Do It, Adopt a Rescued Rabbit Month, National Wedding Month, Canned Food Month, National American Inclusion Month, National Black History Month, Raynaud's Awareness Month. Raynaud's is it's a condition that affects a lot of folks, but often goes unnoticed. And this campaign is designed to raise awareness about Raynaud's phenomenon, disorder impacting blood flow to extremities like fingers and toes. It's one reason they celebrate Raynaud's Awareness Month is because it helps identify and support those living with Raynaud's. A lot of people have the symptoms and have no idea that they've got the condition. Resistance Renaissance of the Heart Month, Spiritual Teachers Month, Pull Your Sofa Off the Wall Month, National Laugh Friendly Month, National Senior Independence Month, National Enrolled Agents Month, National Care About Your Indoor Air Month, International Boost Self-Esteem Month, Free Open Source Software Month, From Africa to Virginia Month, National Sweet Potato Month, National Avocado and Banana Month, Fabulous Florida Strawberry Month, National Cancer Prevention Month, Cholangiocarcinoma Awareness Month, Spunky Old Broads Month, National Blobbuster Month, Ethnic Equality Month, National Cat Health Month, Humpback Whale Awareness Month, Dog Training Education Month, National Prevent a Litter Month, Declutter for a Cause Month, Creative Romance Month, and Affair to Remember Month, National Women Inventors Month, National Embroidery Month, Youth Leadership Month, Haiku Writing Month, Love the Bus Month, Jobs and Golf Month, Celebration of Chocolate Month, Potato Lovers Month, Barley Month, Wise Healthcare Consumer Month, National Self-Check Month, National Condom Month, Pet Dental Health Month, National Parent Leadership Month, Relationship Wellness Month, National Grapefruit Month, Low Vision Awareness Month, National Fasting Month, Return Shopping Carts to the Supermarket Month, Great American Pie Month, National Cherry Month, National Bake for Family Fun Month. Get everybody together and have a good time mixing flour and sugar and whatever else you got right in your own kitchen. National Bird Feeding Month, National Hot Breakfast Month, National Library Lovers Month, and Harley Quinn Month. From the world of Batman and the Joker. Alrighty. On February 6th in the year 590 AD, Hormizd IV, king of the Sasanian Empire, is overthrown and blinded by his brothers-in-law, Vishtam and Vinduya. 1579, the Diocese of Manila is erected by Papal Bull, with Domingo de Salazar appointed its first bishop. 1685, James II of England and the 7th of Scotland is proclaimed king upon the death of his brother Charles II. 1694, the warrior Queen Dandara, leader of the runaway slaves in Quilombo dos Palmares, Brazil, is captured and commits suicide rather than be returned to the life of a slave. 1778, American Revolutionary War. In Paris, the Treaty of Alliance and the Treaty of Amity and Commerce are signed by the U.S. and France, which signals the official recognition of the new republic by France. 1778 saw New York become the third state to ratify the Articles of Confederation. 1788, Massachusetts becomes the sixth state to ratify the U.S. Constitution. 1806, Battle of San Domingo, British naval victory against the French in the Caribbean. 1819, the Treaty of Singapore is signed by Sir Thomas Stamford Raffles, Hussein Shah of Johor, and Temenggung Abdul Rahman, and is now recognized as the founding of modern Singapore. 1820, the first 86 African-American immigrants sponsored by the American Colonization Society depart New York to start a settlement in present-day Liberia. 1833, Otto becomes the first modern king of Greece. 1840, signing of the Treaty of Waitangi, establishing New Zealand as a British colony. 1843, the first minstrel show in the U.S., the Virginia Minstrels, opens at the Bowery Amphitheater in New York City. For those that are really not sure what a minstrel show was, it was an American form of theater developed in the early 19th century. The shows are performed mostly by white actors wearing blackface makeup for the purpose of comically portraying racial stereotypes of African Americans. Of course, there are also some African American performers and black-only minstrel groups that were formed and toured the country. Minstrel shows stereotype blacks as dim-witted and lazy and buffoonish and cowardly and superstitious and happy-go-lucky. Each show consisted of comic skits, variety acts, dancing, and music performances that depicted people specifically of African descent. It was the first uniquely American form of theater, and for many minstrel shows emerged as brief burlesque and comic and track in the early 1830s in northeastern United States. It developed into a full-fledged art form in the next decade. And by 1848, blackface minstrel shows were the national art form, translating formal art such as opera into popular terms for a general audience. Not everybody understands opera. I had an uncle that said he didn't know about that opera, but if it didn't have banjos, he wanted nothing to do with it. 1851, the largest Australian bushfires in a populous region in recorded history take place in the state of Victoria. 1862, American Civil War. Forces under the command of Ulysses S. Grant and Andrew Foote give the Union its first victory of the war. They captured Fort Henry in Tennessee in the Battle of Fort Henry. 1865, the municipal administration of Finland is established. 1899, Spanish-American War. Treaty of Paris, a peace treaty between the U.S. and Spain, is ratified by the U.S. Senate. 1900, the Permanent Court of Arbitration, an international arbitration court at The Hague, is created when the Senate of the Netherlands ratifies an 1899 peace conference decree. 1918, British women over the age of 30 who meet the minimum property qualifications get the right to vote when the Representation of the People Act of 1918 is passed by Parliament. Poor folks needn't bother to apply. 1919, the 5-day Seattle general strike begins as more than 65,000 workers in the city of Seattle, Washington, walk off the job. 1922, the Washington Naval Treaty is signed in Washington, D.C. that limited the naval armaments of the U.S., Britain, Japan, France, and Italy. 1934, far-right leagues rally in front of the Palais Bourbon in an attempted coup against the French Third Republic. Created quite the political crisis in France. 1944, World War II, the Great Raids against Helsinki begins. 1951, the Canadian Army enters combat in the Korean War. On this day in 1951, the Broker, a Pennsylvania Railroad passenger train, derails near Woodbridge Township in New Jersey. Accident kills 85 people and injures over 500 more. It's one of the worst rail disasters in American history. 1952, Elizabeth II becomes Queen of the United Kingdom and her other realms and territories and head of the Commonwealth upon the death of her father, George VI. The exact moment of succession, she was in a treehouse at the Treetops Hotel in Kenya. It's quite an interesting notification. Hey, you're now the Queen. 1958, 8 Manchester United FC players and 15 other passengers are killed in the Munich air disaster. 1959, Jack Kilby of Texas Instruments files the first patent for an integrated circuit. 1959, at Cape Canaveral, Florida, the first successful test firing of a Titan intercontinental ballistic missile is accomplished. 1973, a 7.6 Lahaul earthquake strikes Sichuan province, causing widespread destruction and killed at least 2,199 people. 1976, in testimony before the United States Senate Subcommittee, Lockheed Corporation President Carl Kochian admits that the company has paid out about $3 million in bribes to the office of Japanese Prime Minister Kikuei Tanaka. 1978, the blizzard of 1978, one of the worst nor'easters in New England history, hits the region. With sustained gusts of 65 miles per hour and snowfall of 4 inches an hour. That is a good bit of snow, folks. 1981, the National Resistance Army of Uganda launches an attack on a Ugandan army installation in the central Mubende district to begin the Ugandan Bush War. 1987, Justice Mary Gradorone becomes the first woman to be appointed to the High Court of Australia. 1989, the Round Table talks start in Poland, marks the beginning of the overthrow of communism in Eastern Europe. 1996, Willamette Valley flood. Floods in the Willamette Valley of Oregon cause over $500 million in property damages throughout the Pacific Northwest, and that's in 1996 dollars. Also in 1996, Bergenair Flight 301 crashes off the coast of the Dominican Republic, killed 189 people on board. The deadliest aviation accident involving a Boeing 757. 1998, Washington National Airport is renamed Ronald Reagan National Airport. 2000, the Second Chechen War. Russia captures Grozny, Chechnya, forcing the separatist Chechen Republic of Ikaria and a government into exile. 2006, Stephen Harper becomes Prime Minister of Canada. 2012, a magnitude 6.7 earthquake hit central Philippines, island of Negros, left 112 people dead. 2016, an earthquake of magnitude 6.6 strikes southern Taiwan, killed 117 people. 2018, SpaceX's Falcon Heavy, a super heavy launch vehicle, makes its maiden flight. 2021, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken suspends agreements with Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras to send asylum seekers back to their home countries. 2023, two earthquakes measuring 7.8 and 7.5 struck near the border between Turkey and Syria with a maximum Mercalli intensity of 12, which is considered extreme. Earthquakes resulted in numerous aftershocks and a death toll of 57,658. All right, we're going to look at some of the more recent news situations. The Liz Cheney has in the past worked for the U.S. AID, faces backlash after she attacked Elon Musk. She's being ripped on social media by conservatives. The USAID is now the most prominent target of Doge. She said she was proud of what America did to win the Cold War, defeat the Soviet communism, and to defend democracy. But that's not what USAID is doing now. It's paying for every wacko off-the-wall left-wing project you can imagine. And being paid for courtesy of the U.S. taxpayer. Of course, nobody has bothered to ask the taxpayers what they thought about these programs. And let's not forget my favorite one, $50 million to buy condoms for Hamas in Gaza. Well, federal workers have a deadline of today to decide whether to accept the Trump administration's buyout. Republican lawmakers have lined up behind Trump's promise to roll back the Department of Education. A number of political leaders have wanted to do away with that department. Some of the stations bought by George Soros are exposing ICE agents and the upcoming raids they're going to do. Well, Trump has signed an executive order to deport Hamas sympathizers on college campuses. So it's prompted student newspapers at Purdue University to delete the names of the Hamas sympathizer leaders from their articles. newspaper is saying that Trump's move violates students' First Amendment rights. He signed an executive order June 30th to cancel the student visas of Hamas sympathizers on college campuses. And a lot of left-leaning students are opposing it. Executive Order 13899 is aimed to combat the unprecedented wave of violent anti-Semitic discrimination. And in the minds of these left-leaning students, that is okay to have anti-Semitic discrimination, but we can't turn it around and go after the people who cause these issues. That would violate their civil rights. Prostate cancer is on the rise. According to doctors, one reason for that is a freeze in cancer screening, likely led to the increase. According to prostate cancer symptoms, you have the frequent urge to urinate, you have back pain, frequent urination at night, weak or interrupted urine flow, and blood in the urine and semen. The new Attorney General, Pam Bondi, has turned off the federal funding spigot to sanctuary cities. Fox News Digital asked leaders of both parties and the states likely to be affected what they thought about it. She also directed the Department of Justice to probe instances of jurisdictions that are impeding law enforcement and ordered the prosecution where necessary. Pennsylvania, at least 2 major cities have enacted sanctuary policies, and leaders of a third have signaled opposition to working with federal immigration authorities. Philadelphia notably announced its new paradigm when then-Mayor Jim Kenney videotaped himself dancing in his office and singing, "We're a sanctuary city." The governor of New Jersey, I think it was, bragged about having an undocumented immigrant living in an apartment over his garage, and he was going to protect her. Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in a blue dotted in Amish County sea of red, and Amish County's sea of red, approved sanctuary city status. And while Pittsburgh is not formally a sanctuary city, Democratic Mayor Ed Gainey recently announced he wasn't going to be working with ICE. Well, there's going to be a come to Jesus meeting over all that, I think. Minnesota Republicans have notched a deal securing temporary majority if the Democrats refuse to show up for work. They think if they don't show up, then they bring everything to a standstill. It don't work that way. Trump's ICE has arrested a shocking number of violent gang members. Trendy Aragua thugs living in America. They don't think anybody knows where they're at, but that's not true. Former USAID official Mark Moyer says corruption at the agency subverted the Trump White House. He said he was effectively fired after reporting waste and abuse at USAID. Now, I've reported waste and abuse and fraud and been absolutely ignored. Federal judge has put a stop to Trump's plan to end birthright citizenship. More than 90 people have fallen ill with gastrointestinal illnesses on a Royal Caribbean cruise. That's 89 passengers and 2 crew members. The ship's returning to Tampa, Florida, according to the CDC. An arson suspect in Los Angeles was caught on video cams. Los Angeles residents actually took him down. Looks like some of the fires were actually set, which may go back to the governor's plan to sell the land for development. Now let's see what else we got. As I said yesterday, Trump has pulled the U.S. out of the World Health Organization. And a president dubbed the Argentine Trump has followed his lead. U.S. military surveillance flight crashed in the Philippines, killed 4. 3 defense contractors also involved in the fatal crash. The aircraft contracted by the Department of Defense went down in the southern province of Mindanao del Sur, providing intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance support at the request of the Philippine government. There were no survivors of the crash. There were 4 people on board, 1 U.S. military service member and 3 defense contractors. West Virginia claims New York has no business regulating traditional energy companies. They've got, New York has instilled what's known as polluters pay law. It back charges oil and gas companies. Republican AGs have filed a suit against it. The newly elected West Virginia Attorney General J.B. McCuskey is suing New York over the state's new devastating law that retroactively charges energy companies billions of dollars for pollution from 2000 to 2018. I guess I never heard of statute of limitations. Jewish students have welcomed Trump's administration's crackdown on anti-Semitism and Hamas sympathizers on campus. Despite making a 6-figure salary, AOC's net worth is shockingly low. She embarrassed herself with a net worth tweet. Got roasted. She's a Democratic politician from New York, known for being a bit of a firecracker, used it for the wrong reasons. In response to a false claim that AOC had a net worth of $30 million, she jumped on X to make it clear she's not rich. Says she's not even worth $1 million, not even $500,000. Doesn't even own a house. She says she's one of the lowest net worth members of Congress. Trades no stock, takes no outside income. Her filings are public. She's opposed to corruption, and she thinks lying is disgusting. But Her total assets are worth $60,000. She has liabilities of between $15,000 and $50,000, according to factcheck.org. Considering her government pays $174,000 and she's been doing it for more than 6 years, that means she's earned over $1 million since joining Congress. So where'd it go? According to some of the tweets that came in response to her chest pounding, what you're saying is you're really bad at managing money. Annual salary of a U.S. congressman is $174,000. She's been there since January 2019. But she has a net worth of less than $45,000. That raises a crucial question. Where'd the money go? If she can't manage her own money, what's she doing managing the country's money? Well, that pretty much takes care of our little news segment. We've been talking about, in the last couple of shows, UFOs, alien abductions. For all the governments poo-pooing the very idea of UFOs, it came out last year. They're spending a lot of money tracking them and following them. Well, they may say there's nothing in the sky. That's like one leading scientist years ago said, talking about meteor strikes on the Earth, that's impossible. That rocks fell from the sky because there are no rocks in the sky. Well, when highly trained pilots and astronauts with advanced technology and no agenda say that something unusual has been seen, it might be time for us to take notice. Well, Navy pilots were stunned when they saw an oblong object that defied the laws of physics as they tracked it. The USS Princeton cruised off the coast of San Diego on a training exercise on November 14, 2004. Ship's radar captured images of what an operator described as multiple anomalous aerial vehicles just over the horizon. These 5 or so objects flew more slowly than jets. They were going only 138 miles per hour. But they were too fast and too high to be birds. When the objects plunged 80,000 feet in less than a second, fighter pilots from the USS Nimitz were ordered to investigate, and frankly, were stunned when they saw what it was out there. Navy Commander David Fravor radioed another F-18 pilot. Do you see that thing down there? Well, flying below Fravor was a white object about the size of his jet, but oblong. Looked like a giant tic-tac. But no wings, no exhaust plumes. It seemed to buzz just above the water and then suddenly accelerated so fast that it literally vanished. And then reappeared about 60 miles away. According to what Fravor later told CBS News, there were 4 of us in the airplanes literally watching this thing for roughly 5 minutes. He repeated the same information in a 2023 before a congressional committee investigating UFOs. And he didn't just see the object, but captured it on his jet's video camera. And while the object bedeviled Fravor and the others that day, none of the servicemen would go so far as to say it came from outer space. Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich told 60 Minutes, we don't know what it was. Could have been a natural phenomenon, human activity. Chet Underwood, another pilot who saw the object, told New York Magazine it was just what we call a UFO. I couldn't identify it. It was flying. It was an object. Simple as that. But of course, there's a lot of people in government who have no idea what they're talking about, but they speak as if they know what they're doing. Well, let's talk about some of the sightings been made by astronauts. Now, you normally believe astronauts. And some people who went to space actually saw things they couldn't explain. One of them saw a tadpole in space. Jim McDivitt said it looked like a beer can with a smooth pencil sticking out. He saw that outside the window of Gemini 4 capsule while orbiting the Earth over Hawaii in 1965. Commander of the NASA craft, McDivitt, snapped pictures of the object and returned to his home planet to a hero's welcome. When the film he had shot was developed, 4 images showed a fuzzy disc-shaped object with tails that came to be known as the tadpole photo. McDivitt said, "I've never been able to identify it. I don't think anybody else ever will." Then Russia cosmonaut Ivan Wagner posted a video on social media in 2020 of what he called a possible UFO sighting. Well, he was making a time-lapse recording of the Australia Southern Lights. He asked, what do you think those are? Meteors, satellites, or what? That was the message he put on Twitter. Officials from Russia's space agency, Roscosmos, said they were analyzing the video. They said it was too early to make conclusions to our Roscosmos researchers and scientists at the Space Research Institute that the Russian Academy of Sciences tell us what they think, well, the spokesman said. Decided to hand over those materials to experts. They'll tell us what that was in their opinion. Well, as of today, no results have been announced. 2022, the internet was aflutter over photos from NASA's Curiosity on Mars, showing what came to be known as the alien door. As British geologist Neil Hodgson told Live Science, it's a very curious image. But he said other scientists believe the 12-inch by 14-inch opening similar to a pet door is not an entryway for diminutive Martians, but rather a naturally occurring fissure on the planet caused by wind erosion. Some have noticed this image I took on Mars was a post on Curiosity Rover's page on Twitter. Sure, it may look like a tiny door, but really it's a natural geologic feature. It may just look like a door because your mind is trying to make sense of the unknown. Maybe it is a door, though. You know, any outlandish idea that is not supported by whatever the current groupthink is certainly immediately downplayed. One of Britain's first people in space has gone on record as saying she thinks aliens from other planets are real. Helen Sharman said there's so many billions of stars out there in the universe that must be all sorts of different forms of life. She visited the Soviet Mir space station in 1991, and she was interviewed by the Observer newspaper. And she asked, will they be like you and me, made up of carbon and nitrogen? Well, maybe not. She was a chemist, and while she didn't encounter any extraterrestrials during her 8 days aboard the space station, wouldn't be surprised if the beings are much closer to home. She said it's possible they're right here, right now. We simply don't see them. Well, American astronaut Edgar Mitchell piloted the Apollo 14 mission to the moon in 1971. Said the world owes a debt of gratitude to beings from beyond the stars. He said U.S. military personnel confided to him that ships from outer space shot down Russian missiles over the Pacific coast. He told the UK newspaper The Mirror in 2015, my own experience talking to people has made it clear the ETs have been attempting to keep us from going to war and help create peace on Earth. Now, Mitchell was a controversial figure from the U.S. space program, shared his beliefs since 1973, just 2 years after landing on the moon. And he continued to do it till he died in 2016. Well, it was the Gemini 6 crew of Walter Wallace Schirra Jr. and Thomas Stafford were about to re-enter Earth's atmosphere 10 days before Christmas in 1965. Stafford told Mission Control, "We have an object that looks like a satellite going from north to south, probably in polar orbit." Getting closer, Stafford described the object as a command module with 8 smaller modules in front. Just as it looked like the astronauts was in a UFO, Stafford delivered the punchline. The pilot in the command module was wearing a red suit. Ground control then heard a harmonica playing jingle bells, backed up with the tinkling of tiny bells. The harmonica and bells are on display at the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. I think it was a hoax. But then again, well, what do you think about the time that Washington was overrun with UFOs? At the same time, they were downplaying the very idea they existed. At a glittering Hollywood event marking actress Shirley MacLaine's 60th year in Hollywood in 2015, the Oscar and Emmy winner sat down for a question and answer that inevitably touched on her well-known views on metaphysics and otherworldly phenomena. She's 80 years old at the time. She explained that those interests began during a visit to the East Coast. She said, "I was in Arlington, Virginia in 1952 when a whole UFO squadron buzzed the White House and the Capitol." She discussed that in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter. In the summer of 1952, the U.S. had reached a UFO frenzy with hundreds of reports of flying saucers and 16,000 items about UFOs in the nation's newspapers. In April of that year, Life magazine's cover included this provocative headline: "There is a case for interplanetary saucers." Well, the most famous of the flying saucer reports were the ones MacLaine recalled on consecutive Saturday nights, July 19th and July 26, 1952. That was the radar screens across Washington, D.C. picked up strange objects. They appeared as bright lights that dashed away at incredible speeds. One air traffic controller yelled to his friends, "Did you see that?" What was it? When the objects moved over to the White House, the Capitol building, on the night of July 19th, the Air Force went on high alert, and one pilot tried to chase what he called bogies 1,000 feet below his plane, flying too fast for him to overtake them. Well, this was what became known as the Washington Flap. Sightings made news around the world with headlines like "Saucers Swarmed the Capitol" and "President Harry Truman demanding answers," which were quick in coming. Air Force claimed the sightings were likely either misidentified stars that were beneath one of their airplanes, or meteors, or the result of a weather event called heat inversion. That's when warm air traps colder air below it, creating a layer that messes with radar signals and shows objects that don't exist. Well, UFO believers, of course, were left dissatisfied. This day say the government's explanations don't ring true. Certainly they were not misidentified stars if they were below a Air Force pilot's plane. It does raise the idea that there may well have been a cover-up. Well, it's come to light that fighter jet records a number of strange sightings on their gun cameras. And almost routinely, pilots were stopped by flying objects that reached super hypersonic speed but didn't have any visible exhaust plumes. The pilot of an FA-18 Navy fighter jet from the USS Theodore Roosevelt couldn't believe what he was seeing off the Florida coast in 2015. It was some kind of object shaped like a toy top flying at a high speed straight into 138 miles per hour winds before it, incredibly, began rotating. That same day, the pilot spotted another object. This one seemed to dash over the Atlantic waters below his jet so fast the computer tracking system couldn't keep up with it. Well, both of these sightings were captured on videos leaked to the public by the New York Times and a UFO research group co-founded by Tom DeLonge, the lead singer for the band Blink-182. Pilots initially speculated the objects were part of some classified and advanced drone program. Incidents were reported to the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. U.S. military officials eventually confirmed the authenticity of the sightings, with the explanation the aerial phenomena observed in these videos remains characterized as unidentified. Experts suggest a rotating object in what's known as the gimbal video, after the name of the jet's camera, as a flare off another plane whose spinning movements are optical illusion created by the Navy jet's rotating cameras. The other object, in what's known as the Go Fast video, is said to be a weather balloon. It only appears to be moving fast because the jet's camera is in motion. When in doubt, it's a weather balloon. That's what they claim about Roswell. Of course, when push comes to shove, a lot of different stories have come to light about that Roswell weather balloon. Well, I've flown out of O'Hare Airport many times. In 2006, numerous airline workers and other witnesses saw a giant metallic saucer hover over O'Hare Airport. In fact, United Airlines controller at Chicago O'Hare International Airport asked one of his colleagues, "Did you see a flying disc out by C-17? C-17 is a United Airlines gate at O'Hare. We know he said that because the FAA made a recording of the conversation. This was about 4 p.m. on November 7th, 2006. Now, of course, one of his colleagues tried to downplay it, said, "You guys have been celebrating the holidays early over there or what?" But the controller was deathly serious. He said, "That's what the pilot and the ramp guys are telling us at C-17. They saw some flying disc out there." And they weren't the only ones that spotted this strange sight. A dozen airlines employees and several people outside the airport described seeing a giant metallic saucer that whooshed up into the sky and shot through the clouds. And despite multiple reports from people who claimed to have watched the object for as long as 5 minutes, the FAA refused to even conduct an investigation because it couldn't be a UFO because there are no such things as UFOs. When FAA officials said our theory is this was a weather phenomena, and that was a perfect atmospheric condition in terms of low cloud ceiling and a lot of airport lights. And when the lights shine up into the clouds, sometimes you see funny things. That's our story, and we're sticking to it. Well, let's talk about what happened at a small Texas town named Stephenville. Residents called police to report brightly glowing objects that were then chased by fighter jets. It was January 8th, 2008. Constable Leroy Gayton gazed into the Texas skies and saw something that shocked him to his core. A huge spherical object glowing like red-hot lava, and about 10 bright lights that flashed and bounced. He was interviewed by Popular Mechanics magazine. He said they hovered there, strobing for 2 or 3 minutes, bright like German auto headlights. Then they shot off at blazing speeds like a school of fish. He saw 2 jets race overhead, he thought in pursuit of the lights, culminating a spectacle so incredible it alerted his hometown newspaper, the Stephenville Empire Tribune, to run a story about the account of the headline possible UFO sighting. There were more than 30 residents of the small dairy town and at least one pilot that witnessed what would become known as the Stephenville Lights over Highway 67, flooded police agencies with emergency calls. What amazed him was that there was no wind, no engine noise, there was just silence. That was according to pilot Steve Allen in a Netflix series called Encounters. When he came past us, I developed the most peaceful, easy feeling I think I've ever had in my life. Almost a religious experience. Well, not everybody has this peaceful, easy feeling. According to a veteran flyer, he and his passengers were shook up, and he said it was pretty scary to see 2 huge objects over the English Channel. Ordinary Airlines Captain Ray Boyer was no novice in the skies. He had 18 years of flying experience. And he thought at first what he was looking at was easily explained as light reflecting off greenhouses on an island down below him. But as the 50-year-old pilot flew his aircraft with 2 passengers over the English Channel toward the island of Alderney off the coast of Normandy, on the afternoon of April 23, 2007, he came to realize what he was seeing looked like something from out of this world. About 40 miles in the distance hovered a stationary disc-shaped object. It looked to be a mile wide, emitting a bright orange light, and it looked like a CD on its side. That was what he said in an interview with the BBC. He admitted he was pretty shook up by the incident. In another interview, he said he looked through his binoculars and spotted a second object that looked like the same but further away. His passengers, a second pilot flying in the area, and hotel guests and nearby SARC reported seeing something similar. Experts say the sightings may have been due to an environmental phenomenon known as sundogs, caused by light reflecting through ice crystals in the atmosphere. I'm surprised they didn't say it was a misidentified weather balloon. That's everybody's answer to unexplained phenomena. Well, not even the military is immune from strange happenings. 2 men in an Air Force plane were never seen again after they chased a mysterious blip on the radar. It was on a stormy winter night in 1953. U.S. Air Defense Command spotted a suspicious unidentified blip on the radar in restricted airspace over Lake Superior. That's near the border between the U.S. and Canada. Find out what was going on, U.S. military sent out an F-89C Scorpion jet with 2 crew members from Kinross Air Base. The pilot, First Lieutenant Felix Jean Montclair, and radar observer, Second Lieutenant Robert Wilson, were on board that plane. Once in the air, the Scorpion crew reported locking onto the mysterious object and gave chase at 500 miles per hour. They chased it for 30 minutes, gradually closing in. Ground radar picked up Montclair's jet nearing the mysterious object near Keweenaw Point in upper Michigan. It went at about 8,000 feet. Suddenly, the military jet disappeared off the radar. The original blip reappeared and dashed off as if it had swallowed up the jet and flew away. An ensuing search turned up no wreckage and no sign of the crew. The Air Force later claimed Montclair accidentally locked in on a civil jetliner and likely suffered a bout of vertigo during the bad weather and crashed into the 1,300-foot deep waters of the Great Lakes. Of course, others rejected the idea of pilot error, noting Moncla was an experienced airman with 811 flying hours, including 121 in a similar aircraft. See, when in doubt, attack the pilot. Well, there was another incident involving a UFO over Iran. The instrumentation on 2 jets malfunctioned as they locked on an unidentified flashing object over Iran. People reported seeing a shiny object in the sky over Tehran, Iran, morning of September 19, 1976. The Iranian military dispatched an F-4 Phantom II jet with 2 crew members to investigate. But the pilot lost instrumentation and communications, returned to the base only to find everything back in working order once he touched down. A second F-4 sent to investigate locked its radar on an object 30 miles away that was the size of a large jetliner, flashing red and green, orange, and blue lights so bright that the pilot later said he couldn't see the body of the plane. Suddenly he saw a round object shoot from the larger object at him like a missile. He tried to fire a missile back, but the weapon system refused to work. And his communication system wasn't working either. The missile-like object then veered away and headed toward the ground. As he returned to base, everything on the second jet suddenly began to work again. The Iranian military launched an investigation and shared its findings with the U.S., which at that time had close diplomatic ties to Iran. This was, of course, before the Ayatollah took over. Experts who reviewed the report believe the pilot saw celestial bodies. Of course, when in doubt, the pilot's wrong. And it was just coincidence both planes had the mechanical problems. In fact, one of the jets had a long history of breakdowns. On that note, we come to the end of today's show. We'll be back tomorrow, and we'll talk some more about UFOs and aerial abductions and all kinds of other bizarre happenings. Until then, this is Ken Hudnall for the Ken Hudnall Show saying have a truly great evening.